Well, thanks for inviting me up here today. Actually, I was up here a couple years ago. I think I helped Mike in a class. But I'm going to switch it up a little bit. First, I'm going to tie the Tom's Minnow. We're going to use a 6, this I think is a 2X hook. Most of my minnow patterns I'll tie on a 2X. This is one I found out last year from a neighbor. His name's Tom Williams, and he's wanted to go out to Crittenden. I fish Crittenden quite a bit, and he'd been bugging me to take him out there. So we went out there, and I offered him some flies. He says, "Oh no, I'll be fine." So you know, either he's going to kick my butt or he's going to do really good out there, and he did really good out there and kicked my butt and didn't have to borrow my flies. But this is one that he fishes a lot up at Strawberry, and so I thought this might be a good one to show you guys. The way he fishes it, he's usually on anywhere from a 1 to a 3 sink line. He always fishes this as the tail fly. I'll show you what the pattern looks like first. And then he fishes a midnight fire above it on that one. So after he kicked my butt out there, I went home and tied some, gave some to Gibby, and we did quite good last fall out there. Don't fish Strawberry a lot, but I'm going to give it a try if we get up there. I'm primarily a stillwater fisherman, but the last few years I've been tying all sorts of different flies. So we're going to try to do a couple stillwater patterns that are fairly simple, new to me this year. I fished them last year and they did great, and then we're going to do a couple small dry flies for you. Just start by putting a good thread base down. And then the thing with Tom, when he gives you a pattern, you never know what materials he used, because he never goes to a fly shop. He gets everything at
roadkill.
Well, he does roadkill. He does well, a lot of these those people that sell things at their house in the morning, when you go by the, what do you call those? I don't know. Anyway.
Yard sale?
Yeah, yard sales, and so you get a fly from him and you take it apart and you try to figure out what the heck it is. So I've tried to duplicate the best of what he's got. The tail, I don't use a real long tail. It's mainly just to support the rabbit strip, maybe about half. You don't have to be really careful about bulk on this fly. Now, one thing that I do with my tails, I wrap them down really loosely to start with. I don't want to flare the hair till I get to the end of it. So I'll get down about above the barb, and then if I want to flare it, I just pull down, it will flare out. And I can gauge that a lot more where I want that. Then he had some crazy flash he put in, double-sided. I have looked all over and can't find it any place at all. So it was double-sided, red and silver. So just a strand of red Flashaboo on each side, and then some silver. It's not a real hard fly to tie. Over the years, the thing I've always found, usually the simpler the fly, the better it works. A lot of the flies that we go back to all the time are flies like that, and they usually have peacock in them. Okay, now the rabbit strip I'm using is a golden variant. I guess I should have told you on the thread I'm using it's a UTC 70, and I think this is the wood duck, but any kind of tan thread will work just fine. Now, one thing that I've been doing on my rabbit strips, I've been just cutting a little, tapering it down at the end, like a little V. I think that gives me a little better action in the water. And I want my tail to go just a little past, or the rabbit strip go a little past the end of the tail there, so that'll work. Now, as far as the body, he just used a yellow chenille. I've used this crystal flash chenille. Out at Crittenden, there's a lot of bass I think the trout feed on, so I've gone to this tan lucent chenille. Works pretty good for me. I leave about, the eye back just so I can tie down my rabbit strip. I'll get moving out of that. Now, one thing, when I cut my rabbit, I don't like to take my scissors and cut straight across. I think you lose a lot of the hairs that way. So I just take a razor blade or these razor scissors and cut it from underneath. And I leave a little tag out there so I can hold it down and stretch it out there pretty good. And I always like to do some locking wraps there. Like I say, it's a simple, easy fly, but it worked really good for us last fall. And like I say, this is one of Tom's go-to patterns up at Strawberry. Any questions? You guys probably can knock this out in your sleep. I fished this fly a lot this fall, especially out of Crittenden. I also fished up in Idaho, up on Treasureton. Caught me a ton of bass and some nice rainbows up there. But it's one of these simple, easy flies to tie. I'm tying this on a 6.3X, but I've tied on 8.3X. I've actually tied some even smaller, and instead of using the rabbit strip, I go to a pine squirrel zonker, and then the Palmer chenille. I'll put one in here, the smaller one. This is the size we're going to tie. This one I think is a purple with the Palmer chenille. I use the purple, blue, and I've got a black chenille here. It's got more green in it. And then here's one of the little smaller ones with the rabbit strip. And this is a root beer in the Palmer chenille. This is in a small size. I'm going to try this up at Matt Warner. I think that's going to work really good. What do I do with that? There we go.
Good strawberry color, too.
Is it? Well, I fish a lot of, I fish a CBS Leech out there, and I think it's for the crawfish, so yeah, that'd probably work out there too. What was funny about it, when I fished it out at Treasureton, it would work really good from about 7 in the morning till about noon, and then it just stopped. But when I was up in Idaho, it worked all day. But I just start by putting down a good thread base. This is going to serve as an underbody. Again, this is another really simple, easy fly to tie.
Is that like a floss thread?
This is UTC 70.
Is that a bright orange?
It's called Fire Orange. And it's important, the thread is important to this fly. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off a few of the fibers on the thread. Now I found in tying this, if you want, we're going to palmer this up in a minute. I want to lay the fibers going down and tie it down where I cut those off. So when I make my first wrap, the fibers will go back. So I'll take my thread back to above the barb. I'll just tie that down there. And I'm just going to build up a nice underbody here. I like to spin my this thread is flat, so it lays down a little nicer. Especially when I'm using this for my midges. If I just put my finger on the hook, it seems to spin a little better. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm just going to taper the top of my rabbit strip a little bit. Just keeps from having too much bulk up on the head. Lay it at an angle, then the thread torque will take it around. Whoops, that was good. First time. That's the first time I've ever done that.
I saw that.
Yeah. I was getting smart. Thought I could.
It'll all disappear on the video.
I don't really care. I don't. Gibby gives me enough crap anyway, so I'll hear about that all the way home. And he'll probably announce it in the club next week.
Cut his thread or just trim it.
Cut his when he was just.
We've all done that.
Yeah, yeah.
I do.
You know, it's really kind of hard when you're tying away from home. I found you got everything set up just the way you like it. Okay, I'm going to tie that down first. You can leave your thread on if you want. I like to get rid of it. That was good too. Jeez Louise. Now this is where you can either taste rabbit all day if you're tying a bunch of these or have a bowl of water. I just take a bodkin, get down to some bear hide. Get your first wrap, then it's easy. See, by putting that on the way that I did, I palmer that back, it makes it a lot easier once you get that first one on. And then I just palmer this up in between the rabbit like you do a zonker or a matuka. I do this, the reason I do the different colors, I really like purple. I'm sure you've had people talk to you about how the different colors when you go down in depth in water are lost. But purple, blues, and greens are the last ones to go. The other thing, if you're fishing, like when I fish up in Canada, a lot of the waters there are stained. And the purples show up a lot better. Okay, and then in the front I'm going to take 2 or 3 wraps up here. Hold that back, and I'm just going to do a little thread head up here. Get rid of that. It's not looking good. There we go. I always double whip finish because I don't use a lot of head cement. Then I'll just measure my tail, probably about a shank length. Then one other little thing I've been using, Loon has this fluorescing UV, and I just enhance my hot spot up here in front. I'm a believer in UV and hot spots, especially if they catch me fish. But I don't know if you can see how that really will show up on that. That's it. Like I say, not a really hard fly to tie, but try it in the different colors, especially in the blues and the purples. Okay, this fly I'm going to tie. It's called a Wally wing. Have any of you heard of the Wally wing?
Yes, sir.
You know, sometimes we tie flies to catch fish, and sometimes you just tie flies just for fun. And this is one of these that every time I tie it, when I do it, I look at it afterwards, and to me, it's really a pretty fly. I don't know if they work or not. They're just fun to tie. This is what it looks like. The big wings up there, and it's really not that hard if you practice a little bit. I actually was able to tie one down to a 20, and I'm not that good at small stuff, but you can do it. Not hard. Oh, now I lost my hook. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm just using on mine. I'm using a Vivus 70 black. Okay, now when you tie a dry fly, proportions, usually your wing is tied in at the top third. So to help me remember that, what I'm going to do is just going to put my thread about where I want my wing to go. Okay, now as far as the wing material, you can use all sorts of duck feathers. We're going to use mallards, what I'm using here. If you like mallard, I get mine at Cabela's in these great big bags. I don't know. Can you see?
There you go.
That way?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you get a bag like this for about $7-8. I like to tie a lot of zoo cougars, so I'm looking for those. I got to find something to do with these little small feathers. But you want something that's barred and fairly nice. If you don't have a feather that's going to work for it, I've sorted some here. You can come and look through that bag, and I've got a couple other little bags here. You do want to have a decent feather for this, but prepare it, you just get rid of all the fluff. And even it out the bottom. There we go. Okay, like that. And I just peel some down. You want to just take your time, just get this right, and it makes everything so much easier. Okay, so now the feather's going to look like that. See that okay? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of them, pull them down, stroke them down. Then I want the curve to go up. And I want my wing to be the length of the shank of the hook. Stand that up a little bit. Now as far as your tail, you can use those microfibers, you can use some moose hair that you have there, some hackle fibers. That's what I'm using. You can buy a pack for like $15. I use this for the class I gave out like 30 feathers. I mean, I've got enough to last me forever.
Stick that one up in front of the camera.
Okay, it's a whiting tailing pack.
Right down.
You can even see it. Anyway, can you see that?
There you go.
It's a CDC tailing pack. There's a whole bunch of different colors there. This one that I'm using here is a medium Pardo. You just look at it and find the color that you want. But if you do a lot of dry flies, this is great stuff.
Tough.
Is it tough?
Yeah, it's tough like wire.
All I know is those microfibers, which are just paintbrush fibers, they're a pain in the neck to use.
$5 for 10 of them. You can buy a paintbrush for 99.
Yeah, some of the stuff is crazy. So I just stand them, if I just stand them up perpendicular on the stem and just pull those off. I always like to pre-cut. See if we got that. That'll be good enough. Tie that down. The color on this doesn't really matter. I mean, any dry fly dubbing will work, or telly material. Now, if you want these to stand up a little bit, just take your thread underneath. That will stand them up and separate them a little bit. I'm just using some super fine dry. If you don't have any, I've got plenty here. This bag will last you a lifetime, I think. If I push my finger on it as I go around, it tightens up the dubbing. And I always find it's easier to put on less and add than it is to take it off.
You like that bobbin?
I just got it. Yeah, I kind of like it. I don't know if you kind of like it. It's kind of stupid, you know. Either you like it or you don't. But you say, sometimes in life you say some of the stupidest things. Like people come up to me and say that tastes like crap, and I'll say, how would you know that?
You ever use biots, goose biots instead of dubbing?
You could use goose biots on it. You could take some peacock and strip it, or some of the dye stuff. This is not a pattern as much as just,
A wing.
yeah, this is all about the wing. You'll see in a minute. It's one of these things when you finally do it and it works right, you get oohs and ahs, and get rid of that. Okay, I'm going to tie in my hackle. I didn't cut my thread. No. Then I always like to put dubbing front and back before I wind my hackle. I just think it looks a little better. Just pull that back. And all you need is about 3 wraps. That went backwards on me.
You just went in front of the duck too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now the whip finish, you can do a regular whip finish, but you can take a little darning needle and make that. I just bought these. What I like, it pushes the hackle back. Okay, here's the fun part. Now, what you want to do is get one fiber. It will work with two. And you grab that and just pull it down. Do the same on the other side. Hold the main stem there, or the feather up on top down. You want to pull it all the way down. Now, if you want the wings a little fluffier, you can just take and push down on them. That'll open them up a little bit. That's a Wally wing.
What'd you do with those two fibers?
Cut them off.
I cut them off.
What did
Yeah. Just have somebody that can see really good that sits next to you, and he'll cut them off for you.
Well,
What you're doing is taking the main feather and splitting it in thirds. There's, for some reason, it will split down there and the fibers will stay on one. I think it's because you tie it down at the bottom. So you split it down. So once you do one, you'll get hooked on them and want to tie them, but they're fun. I'm just amazed that they split like that. So
yeah, I'm not sure how that.
this is like I say, PMX, Parachute Matamex. You can tie this all sorts of different colors and different ways. For my body, I'm using some elk. This is yearling elk. I like it because it's a little thinner. Make sure you clean it really good. If nobody has elk and wants to use it, I've got some strips here you can use. I guess I should have put my thread on first. Okay, it's not a real long tail. I better stack that again. Probably about half to a third the length. And I do it the same way that we did that first fly. I like to control my flare. If I hold up on the hair as I wrap back, keeps it on the top of the hook. Okay, once I get it back there, yeah, that flared pretty good. Didn't get everything out yet that I need. Okay, now in the body, you can do this in peacock. You can do it. I'm going to do a little floss body. You can do it some eye stub. It's a good way to get rid of all your floss you've messed up on your spool. Color, oranges, yellows, red if you wanted. Pink for Gibby.
It's tan.
Yeah, it's tan.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got. Did you bring the? I tied him up. Tied him up one time. The Gibbinator. It was about what was it? A quadruple articulated fly. He could never figure out what fly to use, so each hook I tied 3 flies on it. So he had like 12 flies in one thing. It was.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. I was really bored that day at home. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now I'm put a little underwing on. You don't need to, but I like a little sparkle. And you just need to take a couple of these. This is UV tan crystal flash. I like it better than the regular for some reason. I don't know if it catches any more fish with this fly because I don't really fish this fly. I'm not, like I say, I'm really a stillwater guy, but all you need is about 6 or 8 strands. Tie that back, and I'm going to trim it off just past where the tail started. Now we're going to do a wing. One of the biggest problems I've had with these is I use too much material, and you don't need a lot. Just get you in your way. And I hope somebody's got a good broom afterwards. Usually that's what we have Gibby for. I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
Mrs. Raisin.
Wow. That'll wake you up.
Okay. I want to go back a little past the end. Hold on to your fibers when you put this down. If you don't, they're going to go all over the place. Okay. Now a little trick. Hope you brought some lead wire. This makes it a lot easier. Just hold that down and we're going to wire it down. You can use those hair clips, but they just get big and in the way. And you've got enough stuff going on. If you need some, Gibby's got some here.
I wonder how you wanted 020 wire on a dry fly.
Or you 1015. I use 020 the most, but actually I don't even know what this is.
I thought you were going to put it on the fly.
Oh yeah, it's really buoyant. Got to use a lot of floating for that, or put little pontoons on it or something. Okay, now we're gonna. Hey, you learn something new every week. Okay, I'm using some.
New kind of PMX.
This is a parapost wing. You can use this. There's actually the stuff I like better. I don't even use that. See if I got that. You can no, I don't. You can use Antron for it. There's Widow's Web. This is the stuff I like. This fly on, and it's got little. You know, when I first got it, I thought, it's got these little kinks in it. What in the world is that there for? And actually, it helps hold the material together when you're doing your post. So I'm going to tie this up.
I like that stuff.
McFly on? Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'm going to tie this up probably about 2 eye widths back. I used to comb that all out and everything, and then it's like stupid. That's there for a reason. I've tried putting this around the thread, everything else. Sometimes you can start over again. There we go. Okay, now, there actually is a little tool you can get, a gallows that will hold this up, but I just find if I hold it up, take it around like this. Now, I get 4 or 5 wraps, and then I'm going to take it around the hook, because if you ever let go of this stuff, it's going to all come undone and drive yourself nuts. But you want to go up the post probably about 2 eye widths. If you get a good post, it's going to make this fly a lot easier. Now some guys will let go of the top and start wrapping it down. For me, I just like to hold on to it. But it's whatever works good for you. You put your finger out and hold it and come around. That should be Yeah, that should work. Okay. For feather, whatever, you can use brown, you can use grizzly, a tan. Yeah, it'll work. Okay, I'm going to tie this down at the base. I want the shiny side towards the post. And then I'm going to pull just a few fibers off the side away from me, so when I first wrapping it, I'm not going to have fibers trapped in there. You get a few wraps up there and you can see. Okay, good. And you don't want to have a long hackle there, it just gets in the way. Let's get rid of this here while I'm thinking of it. Just the same way you did the post before, wrap it up there. Okay, now I'm going to do a peacock body for the other part. I found it's easier just to tie my peacock in first. Doesn't really get in the way. I'll use 3 strands or 4, whatever comes out. Okay, legs, whatever you want. These are tan and black barred. I found for this fly, you know, when it comes like that, if I just take one of these and half it, it's almost perfect length. You don't want to have big long legs. You got enough stuff going on here. And however, everybody has a way of putting their own legs on. This is what works for me. I think as fly tires we get kind of weird sometimes. Like, this is the way I do it. It's the only right way to do it. It doesn't matter. It's whatever works for you in your hands. It's the finished product, and the finished product, the fish will tell you whether it's right or not on that. Just got to find out which is which side. Got to make sure you get it on the right foot. It's like when I go float tubing with the guy the first time, they'll get all ready and get their fins on. I'll start laughing at them, tell them they put their fins on the wrong foot. It's kind of mean, but
I still do that.
yeah, they take the time to do that. It's like, okay, now I'm taking my peacock. This will help separate the legs too. I'll do a couple wraps behind, a couple in between. That was you, wasn't it?
That was Ben.
Oh, it was Ben. We were fishing up in Canada, bottom of Tacaric Lake, place they call Utah Beach. And we were there and a storm was coming in and Ben was fishing with us and he had his raincoat on inside his waders. We didn't tell him. We're kind of mean to go with sometimes. And all of a sudden he started.
Great to have friends.
Oh, isn't it good? They're so nice.
Water starts running down the side of the road.
Oh, well, you know what? I don't think you'll ever do that again. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, there we go. This is as bad as at home. I got crap all over the place. I'm going to tie the peacock off here, do not cut your thread. I do that all the time, and it's like, geez. Usually you can just pop these off. And that one didn't want to. Okay, now what you want to do on this is get your thread back up. However you do it. I want to get it to lie in that notch between the two legs, like that. And that leg just does not want to go. There we go, it's better. Okay, now, just hold that out and hold this up. And I want to get about 6 or 7 wraps down my post. Okay, now I have my thread, and what I'm going to do is I wiggle it so I don't trap any fibers. Do 2 wraps on top, and then I'm going to go 2 wraps underneath. Okay, now the problem with parachutes is the whip finish. So you can take your thread and take it around here, whip finish on the front of it. The problem when I do that, everything comes undone. You can take it, turn it sideways and whip finish, and I just screw that up every time. So I saw a guy that did this, said he's never had it ever come undone, and I've tied a bunch for some friends. They've never had any problems. Good old super glue. Now, this stuff, I get this at Hobby Lobby. Comes in a medium, a light, and a heavy. It's $3 for a bottle, lasts you forever. But it's not in the regular glue section. It's over where they have all the models on that one. So you can use your bodkin, but I just get the straight pin, and I take it and put it right there where I finished. And I don't trust everything, so I'll do one over on the other side. Let that sit for a minute. Do your post whatever length you want. Bring those together. Front, I take this to about the back of the tail. Okay, now I'll see if this, use my 5-point scissors. Now here's the part, cut the thread and see if it all comes apart. There you go, PMX. Actually, tie a couple of them. Once you get the steps down, they're not too bad. But this is a fly that was originated by a guy named Andrew Grillos. He was a guide over in Colorado and up in Oregon, Washington, and up in Alaska. And the way it got its name is he'd take these guys out fishing that never caught a fish before. He'd guide them all day, put their flies on, take them off, and then at night while he was cooking dinner and getting the camp ready, he'd tell them to go down and fish, and they'd look at him like, oh, how do we get the fish off? He said, I'm going to have fun with them. He says, you just go over there and you stomp on the fish's head, rip the hook out, and kick him in the water. And these guys would just look at him like... So that's why the hip boots, they call it a hippie stomp. And then he'd bust up laughing. So anyway, you can tie this in all different patterns or colors. From what I've read, they say this is the most popular. This is a...
Do you need anything else or just the legs?
The legs, that. You guys should have the hackle, you should have the moose. But it's got a red underbody of foam and a red top, black on that. You can do it. I've got one over here and a tan and a pink. I mean, any color is up to you on that one.
Moose? Oh, yeah.
You guys should have moose and the hackles for this. And I tied this on a 12-1X. So if you don't have that hook, you ought to get one from Gibby. It's important because the foam is sized to that. Gibby's got those, I think. Yeah, Gibby's going to bring the stuff around so you don't have to. But black thread.
You guys need hooks?
It's a really quick, easy. It's not a hard tie. Just start down with your thread base.
Yes.
And then we're going to put a tail of moose on here. 12-1X. And yeah, that's important because I used to love fish humpies. Where'd my, there we go. So much stuff here.
Is there any particular reason why you're using moose instead of deer or elk?
Moose is stiffer,
Okay.
gives more support back there. I like it. There we go.
It's got a nice sheen to it, too.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have so much stuff to float this fly with, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, now on this one, we want the black to be on top, so we have to put that on first. And if you look, you know, okay, these are made out of a beetle cutter. It's a size 14 for the red, and the black is a size 12. I get these from River Road Creations, and they last for a long time, and they're really easy to, you just have a pad there and just stomp out the foam. On this one, I like a 1 mil foam for both the top and bottom, but you can use 2 mil if you want, or vary that. If you're going to use 2 mil foam, the cheapest place to get that is like Hobby Lobby. You can get a sheet for like 90 cents if you do a lot of foam flies. The 1 mil and the half mil is harder to find. You can get razor foam that you don't get a lot with that. You can buy 1 mil black and white on that one. So anyway, there's like a little tab on this. I just push this down. I want where it starts to bow out to be back where the tail starts. You can put them both on at the same time if you want. And I size the other one, line that up to about the same shape or same position of the first one. Yeah, I'm using a 14. This is a 14. The top is a 12. Okay, so the underbody is a little smaller. You could do them both the same size if you wanted. I just think it looks a little better. Okay, now underbody, you can use anything you want. You could use peacock, you could use dubbing. I'm just going to use some Flashaboo because I have it here. Take 3 or 4 strands. They tell me this is the most popular color. I don't know what colors they were fishing up on the green.
Black and white.
Black and white? Did they use a peacock for the...
Peacock, or it might have been peacock dubbing.
Okay. Yeah, you could use that UV. I like that UV ice stub in peacock. I use that a lot. Okay, and I'll just wind up on the hook a little bit because some of that will show, and this helps to hide some of that. Plus, I'm one of these people that have a hard time throwing material away. Now, the idea of this when I take it forward, I want to have the body equal back in half. So I try to tie this in about the 1/3 spot. So I take these over and hold them down. It will roll on you. We'll use some super glue in a minute. Okay, and I'm going to put a little band here because we're going to have some stuff that's going to go in here. If you ever, this is this fly tire cement, and I like this. It's got a nice little brush in it, and it just a nice consistency. And I like the brush. Just put those together and let them sit for a second. Okay, what I'm going to do, I find it easier to trim this now, just cut it off, and I round the corners. Okay. Put my legs on. This one is a real easy one to put legs on. Okay, if you just pull it on both sides, there's a junction of the foam, there's like a little pocket there they'll just pop into. Okay, you can use for this little wing in there. Some people omit it, don't even put it on there. You can use sparkler merger yarn, you can use Antron, anything like. You could use some of your post material if you wanted. I double it over. Okay, you want this one, the back one short, top one just a little past where the head is. And then just a nice grizzly hackle, or you could use any color you wanted. Now this one we want to hackle it really heavy. So I'll put in 7-8 turns. Seven or eight, 70 turns. See if I get 70 in here.
Sound like it's 70.
Did I sound like 70? I just came back from California. My lips are all sunburned. Plus, I was up late last night. I had my son-in-law's birthday party, and they rented a theater. And my grandson got engaged, and we didn't get home till really late. So I'm not responsible for everything that comes out of my mouth.
More foghorn leghorn.
What's that?
That hackle came off foghorn leghorn.
Yeah.
78.
Oh, what did I do that for? Where'd my leg go? There we go. Okay. Slip everything in front here. Oh, there's a smaller one. At least I didn't cut my legs off. Okay, a little past the head, the back, I go back to about the end of my tail. And that's a hippie stomper. Oh, one thing you do, you want this to ride low in the water, so hold your legs down and cut your bottom hackle off. You just cut that flush. Just kills you have this nice hackle, then you cut it off. Okay.